Graeme Souness is almost 75, and if you clicked on this video thinking about his downfall or wasted career, you need to hear the real truth, because what happened to this man isn't what most people think. Just last year, Souness swam across the English Channel for charity. At his age, battling freezing waters for hours to raise money for others. The man who once looked like he'd fight anyone on a football pitch was now showing the world a different side. But here's what's wild. This side was always there. We just never looked hard enough. So what made Souness such a polarizing figure on and off the pitch? And why do so many people still admire him despite everything? The answer might surprise you. Let's start with the player nobody wanted to fight. Souness had a reputation that made grown men think twice. He collected yellow cards like trophies and red cards like souvenirs. His disciplinary record reads like a rap sheet. The man literally broke an opponent's jaw in a European Cup semi-final and somehow stayed on the pitch. There's the infamous story about Phil Thompson. These were teammates at Liverpool, but when Souness got the captaincy, Thompson felt like it was stolen from him. The two had a feud that lasted years. Thompson accused Souness of taking what wasn't his, but here's the thing. Beneath all that violence and confrontation was a master tactician. Souness wasn't just throwing punches and making tackles. He was reading the game like a chess master. He could control the tempo of matches with a simple pass. His vision was incredible. He'd spot openings that other players couldn't even imagine. The irony is stunning. One of the most feared players in football history was actually one of the smartest. Despite his volatility, he captained Liverpool during their golden era. This wasn't just any team. This was the Liverpool that dominated Europe. Souness won European Cups, league titles, everything. He was selected for the PFA First Division Team of the Year 4 seasons in a row. Think about that for a second. The most respected players in England voted for him year after year. His reputation as one of the hardest but most respected midfielders of his era wasn't an accident. Players feared him, but they also knew he was brilliant. You don't get that kind of respect by just being tough. You earn it by being exceptional. Then came his transition to management. Early in his career, he took over Rangers and changed everything. This was the Souness revolution. He brought in English internationals when everyone else was losing Scottish talent to English clubs. He reversed the entire flow of football talent. The man even signed Mo Johnston, a former Celtic player, breaking Rangers' unwritten rule about Catholic players. But then, Liverpool called him back. And this is where people think his downfall began, but they're missing the crucial context. Souness agreed to manage Liverpool while recovering from major heart surgery. Let me repeat that. Triple bypass surgery at age 38, and he's trying to manage one of the biggest clubs in world football. The physical trauma alone would destroy most people, but Souness kept working. At the same time, his personal life was falling apart. He was going through a bitter divorce from his first wife. Then his father died. Imagine carrying that emotional weight while trying to rebuild Liverpool's squad and recover from life-threatening heart surgery. The media painted him as a failure at Liverpool. Fans were frustrated, and honestly, their frustrations were fair from their perspective. Results weren't great, but when you understand the full context, everything changes. This man was literally fighting for his life while trying to save his football club. He made unpopular decisions, sure. He sold Peter Beardsley to Everton. He had conflicts with former teammates like Phil Thompson and Tommy Smith, but he also developed young talents like Steve McManaman, Robbie Fowler and Jamie Redknapp. He won the FA Cup in 1992. He was reshaping the entire squad for the future. The thing is, Souness never did anything halfway. His approach was always all or nothing. Players either bought into his vision completely or they didn't last. Senior players resented his disciplinary approach. Some threatened to leave. But that wasn't weakness. That was Souness being Souness. Then came the interview that everyone talks about. After the 1992 FA Cup semi-final, Souness gave an interview to the Sun newspaper. In Liverpool, this was unforgivable. The Sun was hated because of their coverage of the Hillsborough disaster. Souness was recovering from heart surgery and made a decision that fans saw as betrayal. But here's what people forget. He was exhausted, dealing with health issues, and trying to manage one of the world's biggest football clubs. Was it a mistake? Absolutely. Was it malicious? Not even close. The climax of this whole story isn't about failure. It's about public misunderstanding. Souness became a caricature, the angry pundit, the man with a short fuse, the guy who couldn't adapt to modern football. People started judging him by memes and studio arguments, but in reality, he loved the game more deeply than almost anyone. The man who once restarted Rangers' dominance and captained Liverpool to European glory was being reduced to sound bites and controversy. Here's the truth that most people miss. Souness' story isn't one of downfall, it's one of enduring passion and misunderstood greatness. Today, at almost 75, Souness has mellowed publicly. That channel swim wasn't just about charity, it was about showing people who he really is. The heartfelt gestures, the genuine care for causes bigger than football, these aren't new sides to his personality. They were always there. Tributes from clubs and former teammates continue coming in as he approaches. 75 Liverpool legends who once clashed with him now speak about his influence with respect. Rangers fans still sing his name. Even at other clubs he managed, Galatasaray, Blackburn, Southampton, people remember his passion. His punditry career has been controversial, sure. He's criticised players like Paul Pogba repeatedly. He's made comments that got him in trouble, but even that comes from the same place, an absolute refusal to accept anything less than maximum effort. The man who planted a Galatasaray flag in Fenerbahçe Stadium wasn't being disrespectful for the sake of it. He was responding to being called a cripple because of his heart surgeries. Even his most controversial moments have deeper context. Think about this. Souness managed teams across Europe after Liverpool, Turkey, Portugal, Italy, back to England. Each time, he brought the same intensity, the same refusal to compromise. Some saw it as stubbornness. Others recognised it as unwavering principles. His managerial record shows wins and trophies at every level. Rangers dominated under him. He kept Southampton up when they looked doomed. He won cups at Blackburn and Galatasaray. Even at Newcastle, players like Shay Given admitted the atmosphere problems weren't entirely his fault. The truth is, Souness never changed. The football world changed around him. The sport became more corporate, more media managed, more about image than substance. Souness remained exactly who he always was, uncompromising, passionate, and brutally honest. His recent recognition with a CBE for charity work shows what he's always been about. The swimming, the fundraising, the genuine care for others. This isn't a new Souness. This is who he was when he broke that opponent's jaw to protect his teammates. This is who he was when he fought through heart surgery to manage Liverpool. This is who he was when he revolutionised Rangers. The yellow cards, the red cards, the controversial interviews, the studio arguments, they all come from the same source. A man who cares so deeply about football and fairness that he can't hide his emotions. As Souness approaches 75, maybe it's time we stopped judging him by his worst moments and started appreciating his full story. This is a man who captained one of the greatest teams in football history, who changed Scottish football forever, who fought through personal tragedy and health scares while trying to rebuild Liverpool, who spent years raising money for charity and swimming across channels to help others. So, here's the question. Did we judge Souness too harshly? Were we so focused on his intensity that we missed his brilliance? Were we so distracted by his confrontations that we ignored his contributions? The truth behind Graeme Souness isn't about downfall or wasted career. It's about a man whose passion for football was so intense that it sometimes burned the people around him. But that same passion also created moments of absolute magic. European Cup victories, revolutionary management, charitable acts that continue today. Graeme Souness, at almost 75, isn't a cautionary tale. He's a reminder that some people refuse to compromise who they are, no matter what the world thinks about them.